Listen, sometimes being cheap and choosing the cheaper pedal is the way to go. And in this video, we're gonna talk about why and when to choose between an expensive pedal and a cheaper one. We're also gonna sort of talk about what to look out for and be aware of when buying cheaper pedals and how to avoid the really terrible ones. I'll talk about all of the cheaper pedals that I have. I'll show you how they sound and what makes them so great for being under, let's just say 80 to 50 bucks. And let me know in the comments what cheaper pedals you have and love. No gatekeeping here. Let me know and also tell me why you love it so much. Let's just get right into it. Oh, sorry, I have to do this part. If you get any value or entertainment out of this video, please consider subscribing so I can get to a point where I can stop saying consider subscribing. So let's first talk about what effects I think is great to go cheap and which ones you sort of have to be careful of and which ones to avoid entirely from my experience. So there really are certain types of pedals and effects that I truly believe you have a better shot of getting a decent sound out of for these cheaper pedals. Now this also depends on your current amp rig, but we'll get into that later. So from my experience, those are modulations and wet effects like reverbs and delays. Now I'm not saying they're all great, but compared to other types of pedals, you'll have way more luck with those. So for example, I have used this Donner Island delay for the past 3 years. I'm pretty sure this thing was like $30. It truly has very unique and interesting delays. I think it has like 11 delays. It's got very simple delays like digital, analog, and tape, but it has a lot of fun stuff too, like lo-fi, reverse, deluxe, which is my favorite one, shimmer, tremolo, and it's also a looper. It loops up to 17 seconds. This thing has not left my board since I've had it. Now let's just give this a listen real quick, and I want you to tell me if you think this sounds like it's 30 bucks. Now the deluxe and shimmer, I kind of like how they sound cheap. I think it's a really great sound, so I'm also curious about your thoughts on that. Now I don't really use delays that often, which is why having something like this is perfect for me. Now if I was like The Edge or someone that used delay all the time, I would probably buck up for a better delay pedal. Now another one, this is another Donner pedal. This is the Embark 04 chorus pedal. This is also under 30 bucks. And you just get that very simple and great chorus sound. Let's give it a listen. It's got 2 knobs, and that's all it needs. And that's if you're just looking for a simple chorus pedal that you can turn on, use briefly for whatever, and then turn it off. I could have spent well over 200 bucks on a chorus pedal. Now granted, I might have more tonal options and I can adjust certain frequencies and get a little bit more than a chorus sound, but for under 30 bucks, you cannot go wrong for what that sounds like. It's got a rate and depth knob, and how you sort of dial these in, you can get even a little bit more than just a chorus sound. And again, I don't use chorus that often, so it's perfect for me. And it's also super tiny and will fit in the little crevasses on my board. Now the types of cheaper effects that I've personally had the most trouble with and didn't love the sounds are overdrives, distortions, and fuzzes. They're just a little bit more tricky. It's really easy for them to sound cheap, depending upon your rig. And honestly, even if you have a great rig, a really cheap distortion pedal will sound horrible. I honestly just completely avoid cheaper distortion pedals. Pretty much all of the ones I've ever played just sound horrible. And if you have different experiences, like I said, please let me know. But I definitely have lucked out with some overdrive pedals. And this Dumble Drive in particular. Now it's supposed to give you that Dumble amp sound. I mean, it kind of does, but not really. But honestly, what I mainly use it for is as a boost and some like light gain or even tone stacking. So let me show you what I mainly use it for. I'll show you how I use it as a boost. I'll tweak the treble and bass knobs as well. It gives you 3 mode options, but honestly, it doesn't do too much. But the gain and volume knobs are what really make this pedal so great. See, that's just not bad. It sounds great. I use it for live shows, I use it for recordings, and it's one of the cheapest pedals I own. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about Donner pedals here. They do have some really great, cheaper, and affordable stuff, but from hearing and even trying other sort of budget brands, what I said about modulations and like wet effects sounding great all around, that's still true with those other brands as well. So it doesn't just have to be Donner, there are other great brand options out there as well. Now, cheaper pedals in general are honestly perfect for any skill level, but it's especially better for those who are just entering into the guitar gear world. You need to know what you like and what you don't like, and this is just the best way to go about it. Why spend upwards between $100 to $400 on a pedal that you're not even sure if you're gonna like it? Even with the bad pedals I mentioned, like distortion, you can still figure out what a distortion pedal does and get a general sense of how it works and how it reacts to your amp, how it reacts to your guitar, and things like that. Now, the biggest factor in this whole topic is what amp you have. Most beginners have cheaper, not the best amps. And really any pedal, especially the boutique ones, they're not gonna sound as best as they would through, let's just say, a tube amp. Pedals will react through different amps you are using, even the best amps in the world. For example, let's just say I had this killer boutique overdrive pedal, and I had 2 amps. I had a Marshall Plexi tube amp, and let's say a Fender Princeton reverb, or Fender Deluxe reverb, whatever. I could hate how that boutique overdrive sounds through the Plexi over the Fender. A pedal could sound great through one rig and terrible through another, so it really all depends upon what amp you are using. That's what really makes or breaks great tone. I've used pedals through solid state amps and have had great success and have loved the tone, and then moved that pedal board over to the tube amp and it just didn't sound as great, and even vice versa. Now honestly, I would go tube amp any day, that's just my preference. But if you prefer solid state amps or amps like Kemper and things like that, do it, but just see what works best for that rig. Now, with all that being said, having a killer tube amp, you're more likely to have way better success with cheaper pedals, sounding good, I mean. Or it'll at least be easier to find one decent sound out of it. So if you have a sort of beginner amp, all the pedals that you buy that are, let's just say over $100, $150, they're not gonna be showing their true colors and what they're genuinely supposed to be doing. So that's why going cheap and learning what those cheaper pedals can do and see what you like and don't like, it might be the best option for you. Now here's another big point that I need to make. The amps and boutique pedals that I own help with how these other cheaper pedals sound. So it's not just an amp, it's also the other pedals. Let's just say I have a whole cheap pedal board between 6 to 9 pedals. All of those cheap pedals are not going to react as great as they would if I include a couple of other boutique and really great pedals. So I would not go fully cheap on a pedal board because of how they will all react to each other. With frequencies, with noises, you sort of run into those issues. So I'd say if you have about 6 to 10 pedals on your board, I'd truly go 3 to 4 max cheap, and you'll be just fine. Now, when I say cheap, I'm talking like under 80, I'll just say $100. So also keep that in mind. And the types of pedals that you are going to use the most often, I would probably buck up a little for those. And then the ones you don't really need but would be helpful to have, and just go a little cheaper. So here are my final thoughts. Cheaper pedals can be your best friend, but they can also be your enemy and cause some issues, let's just say sound and frequency wise. Take what you get from this video with a grain of salt. Everyone's rig situation is different, but I think I've covered most rig situations, but if not, please ask away down in the comments and I'll try and get back to or answer as quickly as I can. Please check out these other pedal demos that I've done that are a little cheaper just to learn more about how they sound, and please consider subscribing if you are into this kind of content. I will see you in these videos that you're about to click on. Thanks as always for watching and checking out my videos. Peace.